A player character. A playable character is a fictional character in a role-playing video game whose actions are directly controlled by a player of the game rather than the rules of the game. The characters that are not controlled by a player are called non-player characters. The actions of non-player characters are typically handled by the game itself in video games, or according to rules followed by a game master refereeing tabletop role-playing games. The player character functions as a fictional alternate body for the player controlling it. Video games typically have one player character for each person playing the game. Some games offer a group of player characters for the player to choose from, allowing the player to control one of them at a time. Where more than one player character is available, the characters may have different abilities, strengths, and weaknesses to make the gameplay style different. Overview. Avatars. A player character may sometimes be based on a real person, especially in sports games that use the names and likenesses of real sports people. Historical people and leaders may sometimes appear as characters too, particularly in strategy or empire-building games such as in Sid Meier's Civilization series. Curiously, in the case of Civilization, a player's chosen historical character is the same throughout the course of the game, despite the fact that a campaign can last several hundred years before and after the lifetime of the real historical persona. Such a player character is more properly an avatar, as the player character's name and image typically have little bearing on the game itself. Avatars are also commonly seen in casino game simulations. Role-playing games. In role-playing games such as Dungeons & Dragons or Final Fantasy, a player typically creates or takes on the identity of a character that may have nothing in common with the player. The character is usually of a certain race and class, each with strengths and weaknesses. The attributes of the characters are given as numerical values which can be increased as the gamer progresses and gains rank and experience points through accomplishing goals or fighting enemies. Blank characters. In many video games, and especially first-person shooters, the player character is a blank slate without any notable characteristics or even backstory. Chrono, Link and Chell are examples of such characters. These characters are generally silent protagonists. Some games will go even further, never showing and naming the player character at all. This is somewhat common in first-person video games, such as in Myst, but is more often done in strategy video games such as Dune 2000 and Emperor Battle for Dune. In such games, the only real indication that the player has a character is from the cutscenes during which the character is being given a mission briefing or debriefing. The player is usually addressed as General, Commander, or another military rank. In gaming culture, such a character was called ageless, faceless, gender-neutral, culturally ambiguous adventure person, abbreviated as AFGNCAAP, a term that originated in Zork, Grand Inquisitor, where it is used satirically to refer to the player. Fighting games. Fighting games typically have a larger amount of player characters to choose from, with some basic moves available to all or most characters and some unique moves only available to one or a few characters. Having many different characters to play as and against, all possessing different moves and abilities, is necessary to create a larger gameplay variety in such games. Secret characters. A secret or unlockable character may be a playable character in a video game available after completing the game or meeting other requirements. In some video games, characters that are not secret but appear only as non-player characters like bosses or enemies become playable characters after completing certain requirements, or sometimes cheating.